Hello and welcome to Standard Voice Television Global News. Today, 22nd May 2026, equivalent to Islamic calendar 50 Zulhijjah 1447 after the Hijrah of the Noble Prophet. In the headlines, federal government launches net zero investment plan and targets carbon neutrality by 2060. Court invalidates INEC deadline and gives parties till December to submit membership registers. Presidency advocates stronger national institutional collaboration in fight against terrorism. On the international scene, United Nations delivers emergency medical supplies to check Ebola outbreak in Congo. And on sport updates, Coach Shell adds players in Eagles Unity Cup squad. Details of these and more will be coming to you in the news bulletin. I am Sumaya Mustafa. Stand by. The presidency has unveiled a net zero investment plan, setting a 2060 target for carbon neutrality while pushing for growth anchored on clean investment. Minister of Budget and Economic Planning Abubakar Atiku Bagudu, while disclosing this, said the plan outlines Nigeria's pathways to net zero greenhouse gas emissions and positions climate action within the country's long-term economic framework. He noted that the recent engagements with German partners secured commitments to mobilize long-term funding, including 71 million euros in contribution and a 300 million euros credit guarantee to support climate-aligned investments. On her part, head of international cooperation at the German embassy, Karin Jensen, stressed that the plan reflects Nigeria's priorities and was developed through a broad consultative process involving government, experts, civil society, and business groups. The Nigerian advertising and marketing communications industry is larger, faster growing, and more economically consequential than its public profile suggests. According to the PricewaterhouseCoopers report commissioned by the Advertising Regulatory Council of Nigeria, ARCON, and published in 2024, total marketing communications expenditure reached 605.2 billion naira in 2023, having grown at a compound annual rate of 18.7% since 2018, from a base of 216 billion naira just 5 years earlier. The same report projects that figure to reach 893 billion naira by 2028 and to lift the sector's contribution to national GDP from 0.7 to 1.08% over the period. It was gathered that between 2018 and 2023, the three largest contributors to spend were able to televise 25.5% digital media, 18.5%, and creative and content production 13.4%. Moving on, the federal government has again reaffirmed the long-term delayed digital switchover DSO, which will be unveiled on 7th June 2026, with a nationwide free TV digital platform to accommodate over 100 local television channels. Minister of Information Mohammed Idris, in a statement, said the platform is a flagship strategy framework designed to overhaul Nigeria's digital switchover project jointly introduced by the National Broadcasting Commission (NBC) and the Nigerian Communications Satellite Limited (NICOMSAT). He added that the initiative marks a major structural shift away from expensive ground-based towers toward a space-focused delivery system. Meanwhile, stakeholders in the broadcasting industry have expressed support to the federal government in championing the progress of indigenous broadcast media platforms, protecting the industry's future, and drive forward with a shared vision and mission for an inclusive, thriving, and progressive broadcasting sector. The Kabiru Turaki-led faction of the People's Democratic Party (PDP) has dismissed allegations that it barred presidential aspirants from obtaining nomination forms ahead of the party's presidential primary. The faction spokesperson, Ini Emomobong, who refuted the allegations in a statement, described the claims as false, insisting that all interested aspirants remain free to purchase and submit their forms within the approved time frame. He explained that the party recently extended the deadline for the purchase and submission of forms following appeals from party members. The PDP faction also maintained that although the party had zoned its presidential ticket to the south, no Nigerian could be constitutionally prevented from contesting for elective office. The clarification is coming days after the Turaki-led PDP announced plans to screen former President Goodluck Jonathan as its sole presidential aspirant. Still in the news, the All Progressives Congress APC in Zamfara State faces fresh conflict after a senatorial aspirant, Sani Abdullahi Shinkafi, rejected the outcome of the Zamfara North primary and refuted claims of stepping down for any consensus candidate. Shinkafi's protest has rained crisis in Zamfara APC, with the party facing fresh allegations of candidate imposition, exclusion of cleared aspirants and violation of the Electoral Act, the same issues that led to the APC's losing all elective positions after the 2019 elections. The aspirant, in a letter addressed to the APC national chairman Ntawe Iltuada, accused some influential figures within the party of orchestrating his exclusion from the primary election. He also alleged that aspirants in Zamfara were informed that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu had directed all senatorial aspirants to step down for serving senators ahead of the May 19 primary election. Yilwatda therefore warned that the APC risked repeating the crisis that crippled the party in Zamfara in 2019. An Abuja High Court has invalidated Independent National Electoral Commission's INEC revised timetable and schedule of activities for the 2027 general election by a federal high court in Abuja. The presiding judge, Justice Mohammed Garba Umar, in a verdict held that the time frame imposed by INEC on political parties to conduct their primaries, submit, withdraw and replace names and particulars of their candidates for the 2027 general elections is consistent with the provisions of the Electoral Act 2026 and is hereby set aside. The judgment was in respect of a suit challenging the electoral umpire's time frame for the conduct of the 2027 general elections, aimed at preventing people who lost in primary elections from defecting to another party and vying for the same office they earlier lost in their former party. A certified truth copy, CTC, of the judgment order revealed that the suit, filed by the Youth Party, has INEC as the sole defendant. The news is coming to you on Standard Voice Television Global News. Still to come in the news. Presidency advocates stronger national and institutional collaboration in fight against terrorism. On the international scene, United Nations delivers emergency medical supplies to check Ebola outbreak in Congo. And on sports updates, Coach Shell adds players to Eagles Unity Cup squad. These and more will be coming to you after this break. Stay tuned. Welcome back from that break, and now the news continues. The federal government says terrorism is one of the Nigeria's complex security threats and called for stronger national and institutional collaboration to sustain the fight against insurgency and terrorism across the country. The Minister of Defense, Christopher Musa, made the assertion during the unveiling of a 2-volume publication titled Counter-Terrorism and Counter-Insurgency Operations in Northeast Nigeria in Abuja. He emphasized that defeating terrorism requires the collective commitment of the armed forces, government institutions and citizens, noting that the military alone cannot overcome the nation's security challenges. The minister pointed out that the fight against terrorism demands sustained cooperation among the military, civil authorities and local communities. On his part, the Chief of Defense Staff, General Olufemi Oluyede, reaffirmed the armed forces' commitment to adaptation and improved operational effectiveness in tackling asymmetric threats across the country. Moving on, the Zamfara State Governor to grant pardons to inmates with minor offenses as part of measures to decongest correctional centers in the state. Governor Lawal Dauda disclosed the plan in Gusau while hosting Mohammed Juta, the state controller of the Nigerian Correctional Service, NCOS. He assured that the state government will settle minor debts that led to the imprisonment of some inmates to secure their release. According to the governor, the main objective is to decongest the facilities, speed up justice delivery, and pledge to upgrade facilities at the Gusau Correctional Center, improve its skills acquisition unit, and enhance accommodation, water supply, and mobility for personnel. On his part, Juta appreciated Lawal for his gesture, describing it as a morale booster that would help restore law and order in Zamfara. Still in the news, the federal government has been accused of compelling the Academic Staff Union of Universities ASU to down-tool by deliberately failing to implement the 2025 ASU and federal government agreement. The union made this known during a press conference held at Benue State University, Makurdi, where it said government actions since the signing of the agreement showed a pattern of neglect, warning that the development could trigger another industrial crisis in Nigeria's university system. The zonal coordinator of ASU and Suka Zone, Christian Opata, while briefing journalists flanked by other leaders of the union, explained that the government is taking the route that had previously led to the prolonged strike actions in public universities. He declared that although the agreement was signed on January 14, 2026, its implementation had remained partial, distorted and largely abandoned. Opata blamed the federal government for failing to inaugurate the Implementation Monitoring Committee, IMC. United Nations agencies have delivered emergency medical supplies, protective equipment and logistics support to contain the latest Ebola outbreak in Eastern Democratic Republic of the Congo. UN spokesperson Stephanie Dujarric gave the update in New York while briefing journalists on the Ebola outbreak in Congo and Uganda. He hinted that humanitarian and peacekeeping colleagues are continuing to support the government's efforts regarding the fast-spreading outbreak of Ebola and the deterioration of the humanitarian situation. Dujarric, however, lamented that the province of Ituri remains the epicenter of the outbreak, with the most affected areas in the towns of Rwampara, Mongwalu, and Bunia. The spokesperson said the mission also made available 4 light passenger vehicles to support search team operations in Ituri. Moving on, some militants have set fire to dozens of vehicles, including fuel tankers, minibuses, and trucks, near Mali's capital, Bamako, as they tighten their blockade of the city ahead of the Eid al-Kabir holiday. Videos filmed from passing vehicles and verified by the BBC showed the remains of the vehicles on a road about 45 kilometers west of Bamako. BBC reported that there have been no reports of casualties, as those on board were said to have been asked to get out before the vehicles were burned. It's added that Jama'atul Nasrul Islam wal Muslimin, JNIM, a militant group affiliated with Al-Qaeda, imposed a fuel blockade at Bamako last year, which it tightened after attacking the city last month. The report also confirmed that the militants have kidnapped drivers and burnt more than 100 fuel trucks on major highways across the country since last year, although some have made it to Bamako on the military escort. Super Eagles coach Eric Chelle has called up KRC Genk winger Collins Hirasaw and Shooting Stars defender Tijani Al-Amin to Unity Cup squad in London. Chelle had earlier named 27 players for the invitational tournament. The Super Eagles contingent will depart for London on Friday. In the same vein, the Flamingos has discovered their potential group opponents at the 2026 FIFA Under-17 Women's World Cup. The African qualifiers is still in the second round stage, with 4 teams expected to book a spot at the competition. Nigeria will be away to Guinea in the first leg of the qualifying fixture in Abidjan this weekend and will host their fellow West Africans in the second leg at the Remo Stars Stadium, Ikenne, next week Saturday. Finally, on the news, here's a recap of the top stories again. Federal government launches net zero investment plan and targets carbon neutrality by 2060. Court invalidates INET deadline, gives parties till September to submit membership registers. Presidency advocates stronger national and institutional collaboration in fight against terrorism. On the international scene, United Nations delivers emergency medical supplies to check Ebola outbreak in Congo. And on sport updates, Coach Chelle adds 2 players to Eagles Unity Cup squad. On behalf of the news editor Ilya Adamu Auta and the production crew, I am Sumaya Mustafa, thanking you and bye for now.